Now there are like lot of LLM in the market. There is Claude, ChatGPT, and new LLMs keep coming like DeepSeek, Moonshot, Kimi, and a lot. And every single model faces the similar problem that after some time, this starts forgetting the things. And one of the main reasoning behind that is the context. And to understand the context, it's not that a simple equation. So we need to dive into it and understand what actually context means. And once you know how context work, it can literally help the way you interact with any of the LLM, whether it's a Claude or whether it's a Chat GPT. And you don't need to be an AI engineer or an ML researcher to understand this. So let's start. So consider that there is a whiteboard here, right? And whenever you ask something or whenever you put anything over the chat using their UI, it keeps on writing to that. And whenever you ask something, it would take the full session. It will read everything from there, from top to bottom, and then give you the output. So that's the context. But to do that, every model has a limit to that. For example, like in a normal Claude code, it can only read 200 tokens in total. So when I say token, so you can think of like one token is kind of a 0.75 words in an average, right? So it can only hold 200 tokens in one go. And if you go beyond that, previously it was used to ask you to restart the session, but in recent they have come up with a summarization technique that they would summarize your whole history into this 200k, which is not very efficient. That's why one of the reason it forgets. And Gemini can hold up to 2 million, but that's not the point. The point is how it actually works and why it's useful for us. So let's take one example here, right? So I send the message. As soon as I send the message, some of the tokens fill out here, as we can see, right? And then whenever we have the tokens, it charges based on our token. So it charges like very simple here, right? And I keep on sending it, right? Send message, send message, send message. And see, like our token telemetry is increasing because once it's filled, then it's done, right? Then let's say now there is a point that I want to put a document there and see that how it would spike. Now it's overflow. Now we can't even use it. And now we have paid a lot. We can think like it's very cheap and all. But if we go to the Claude Core, everyone charges differently. It costs a lot. And now there's only one option. We have to start a new chat now. You guys might have seen that if you keep on continuing your session, the model will keep on going like slow, slow, and slow. And sometimes it asks to stop so that it can either start a new session or it can summarize the old session there. Now, one can think like, oh, what's the problem in there, right? Just keep on doing that. Why it's not possible? So without going into too much mathematical details, it's not possible because suppose if you pass 20 tokens, you are actually comparing 400 comparisons there because it's kind of a quadratic equation that's been holding up the whole LLM arena. There are a few people, including myself, that's trying to solve this problem, but till now, all the famous LLM, whether it's Chuan, DeepSeek, everyone is on this quadratic equation. And according to that, if you pass 20 tokens, you are basically making 400 comparisons. So see, like if we use one session, in one session, we are using like 200,000 tokens. So that means 200,000 times 200,000 comparisons. That's why there is a limit in there. And now the other thing is that the model or the computer doesn't know the words. It knows the tokens, right? So suppose if I put like 89 characters here, that 89 characters like maybe having like a 14 words. But according to the token algorithm, it's like around 24 tokens there. So basically you might think that, oh, this is a small sentence, but it's according to the maths happening behind this. This is basically the 24 tokens. And when the model would compare, the comparison would be like 24 times 24. And it keeps on increasing as you keep on going within the session. And now there are like a lot of research happening around. And one research from 2024 is very interesting. So now what LLM do is like it remembers your start, it remembers your last, but it forgets the middle. And this is how it actually works. So that's why sometimes you might get frustrated. Oh, this LLM doesn't know anything. It's not like that. It's like the context sizing is the trouble there. So if you fix that, you would be fine. And remember, the equation that they use in calculating how much you pay to them is very simple. It's based on the input and the output. they take less amount in the input token, but they take a larger amount on the output token, and sometimes it's like 4 times on an average. So suppose if I exchange the message and that message exchanges, suppose I max out to 200 here, and the average message length, suppose let's say like 300 words because I explained a lot of things, and I'm not attaching the docs. But you see, like per million token is charging me $6, right? And that would be around like $49.37 for the conversation. And let's see what would happen if I attach docs of some pages. Suppose if I attach docs of 20 pages, that would bump up the price to $60. Okay, so this is how actually the system works. And what good system work, like whenever you talk about the ChatGPT or the Claude, how do they work is they use some kind of a summarization algorithm there. So if your context is going too much, if your conversation is going too much, they would summarize everything in the smaller context window, and they would apply a lot of different techniques there, that they would store your information somewhere and they would extract only whenever they need it, and they would use some sliding window concept, or they would hold somewhere in the memory. So they use like a lot of engineering helps to solve it. But a 128 context window is not 128 tokens of uniform reliable attention. Okay, we need to remember that point. And I'll have this document attached so you guys can have a read. But one of the best approach to solve these kind of problems, suppose if you have a new conversation happening or if you are going off topic, it's always prefer to start a new session, try to attach documents which are of the less pages and only having the useful information. And one of the last part is, if you think that you need a lot of conversation and a continue running conversation, always use the summarize option there. Every LLM is having the summarize option. If you're using the UI, it will automatically do it for you. If not, you can use the summarize command there.